Hi, welcome to the Confidence Formula. This is version 2.0. Got a lot in store for you, and today is going to be an introduction, kind of an overview of what you're going to be in for in the next 12 weeks. So, four major things. We're going to cover three or four different big topics each week of the program. Introduction, the first four things is talking about what is concrete confidence? What do we really mean by that? What are we building toward as the eventual ideal outcome of the confidence formula? Number two is the pyramid of certainty, kind of just a model for you to think about what the steps are that lead up to confidence, starting with certainty. The 4 C's process, kind of how learning and growth takes place. Great model for you to think about that. And then last, why self-esteem falls short and why we don't just tell you you're great all the time and hope that solves things, and why we take the concrete confidence approach. So first off, overview over the whole program. You may have seen this before. This is kind of out there in our other materials as a promotion, kind of explaining what's involved and how the structure of the program works. So 3 major phases. You're not going to really notice the change from one phase to the next because all this kind of flows together. But really the first 4 weeks on the court is what we're after here. And you'll have this module and one more of online video content before you get to the first real meat of the program when we hit the court in module 3. So phase 1 is about constructing solutions. So I'm a big fan of the idea of construction. I had a coach that actually used the metaphor and actually handed out hard hats to everybody on their team. Like, we are in a rebuilding year. This is a construction zone. Like, everybody's involved in building stuff. And it kind of opens things up. Like, we're building from scratch, we're figuring it out, we're putting pieces together. Like, that's really how I think about learning in general. So week 1, we call the focus funnel. We're going to talk about your priorities, and we're going to talk about how we give instructions in a really focused way that gets both you and our brains synced and focused on a single thing. And then when you get it right, we're able to move on really quickly and stack those pieces by getting a lot of technical details perfected very quickly. Week 2 is from the sneakers up, and we're really just going to focus on footwork in a lot of different scenarios, trying to get your awareness of what your feet are doing and your comfort level so that we can really start building a skyscraper from the sneakers up. Week 3 is all about defense. 3 big pillars. We talk about containing the ball, contesting the vision of the shooter, and rebounding when you make the miss by doing the first 2. Week 4 is the unguardable ankle breaker. One of my favorites to work on ball handling. We're primarily going to talk about how to change speed and direction at the same time, all the time, and be unpredictable and therefore unguardable. Phase 2, we're working on creating certainty. So kind of think about a layer on top of the first 4 weeks. We're talking about finishing at the rim. So we're going to work a lot on footwork and body mechanics and hand motion, how to finish 32 different ways around the basket, get comfortable with that so that there's really nobody can stop you from scoring. You're going to have an option available. Deep range assassin is all about deep range shooting, how to get more power. And then the situational skill system, we start getting into some decision making, some 2 and 3 player actions, how you interact with teammates, and kind of have an operating system for whatever comes up in a game. You have at least a framework for how to attack it. The inside job, if you're a big player and you're around the basket a lot, this will be fun for you. If you're a guard, very small player that's never in the post, this will still be good for you to help you interact with that player and probably find an opportunity here and there when a matchup makes sense for you to actually have an advantage inside. Phase 3, catalyzing confidence. So I really like the whole chemical framework. We have formula, we have catalyst, we have a lot of these words that really have a lot of meaning packed behind them. So like catalyzing confidence to me is like we're building these pieces. Like we have this this glue or this substance that we're building all these pieces on, and now we're ready to throw this catalyst into it that just makes it go faster, right? Makes the glue cure really quickly. It's how I think about a catalyst. And so here we're talking about how to create shots, right? If you want to be confident and like be able to create a shot at will, no matter what the situation is, like that's about the most confident level you can achieve. The scorer's formula, it's going to be some math involved. I get really excited about basketball math, and I hope to relate some of that to you so that you're also a basketball math enthusiast and really just take on a mindset of how to evaluate your efficiency and your shot selection. Advantage multipliers, again, kind of building on the situational skill system. We are trying to elevate our thinking and our anticipation of both our teammates and our defense so that we create advantages and we multiply them without stopping to let the defense catch up. And then the decision maker, we're going to work a lot on how to make good decisions, how to think about setting up your decisions in practice that translate to games so that you can be fast and fluent in a game without stopping to consciously think about what you're going to do next. So that's the big picture overview of all 12 modules that we're going to do on the court. Like I said, we've got 2 introductory modules online here before we hit week 3, which is the start of the course. So first topic for today, what is concrete confidence? So I just talked about my favorite chemistry analogy of like a glue or an epoxy and a catalyst that cures the glue. I like to think about construction and building those pieces as part of the confidence factor. And there's a common term, not something I created, called skill stacking, which I think is very relevant for just how we operate on the court, kind of what you'll experience as we go through workouts and go through different weeks. You know, basically we're taking a small skill like a footwork item, and then we're quickly building 3, 4, 5 pieces onto that so that all those pieces work together and produce, you know, a skill that actually is functional and like game ready. And then we'll go play 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 with that skill, like let you test it out, find where the problems are for you, and then we'll refine it, tweak it, and improve it from there. Fluency is one of my favorite terms, more related to the mental side of the game, but there's a lot of physical parts that stack up underneath that. So I think about like connecting from your shoes. We have that module number 2 is from the sneakers up. Like we're connecting from your shoes to your brain. And like if we get your certainty about what your feet are doing and confident in your footwork, and we get confident in your decision making, then suddenly you are fire. You are off and running and playing at a lot faster pace. And fluency is like a measure. It actually comes from behavior science. It's a measure of how many repetitions or how many actions you can do in a certain period of time, or in our case, in a certain situation. Like if we throw you into a certain one-on-one situation, you know, multiple times back to back, like how many times do you solve it and come up with a way to score? Like that's a measure of fluency. Like be great to say like, yeah, I can do a crossover and attack to a layup, and maybe I can do that with nobody in front of me 10 times in a minute. But can you play 1-on-1 and like score 8 out of 10 times with a live defender in front of you by just using your ball handling and your finishing skills and like putting all those pieces together? And then the last part here I like to talk about is the emergent property of confidence. So, you know, everybody wants to be confident. You know, parents come to us, your parents may have come to us and say, hey, our player's lacking confidence. How do we help them do this? And it's like, we can't put our finger on confidence. It's like stacking up all these little pieces like a puzzle. And eventually it's like confidence floats out the top, right? We never actually put our hands on it and said, we are working on confidence today. It is a lot of little pieces that all fit together. And one day you'll just find yourself like, I took that shot without even thinking about it and it went in. And, you know, it felt good. Like everybody around you would say, you looked confident today, but like there wasn't really any one thing that we could put our finger on that actually got you more confident. It was a combination of a lot of work. All right, the pyramid of certainty. So I've kind of worked on this, just having a visual model of a pyramid. Like this one is kind of inverted here. I'll show you the picture in a second. But certainty is at the bottom, like what everybody wants, like what your parents want again, like what you probably want, if you thought about it, is like to be aggressive, like be assertive. Like there's a lot of words that go around that, but aggressiveness is like the biggest bucket I could find that everybody kind of relates to. Like we want to be aggressive going after rebounds. We want to be able to be aggressive and dive on the ball when it's loose on the floor. And we want to be aggressive, like attacking the basket, like aggressiveness. And, like we mentioned with confidence, concrete confidence, everybody kind of realizes like that's a necessary piece. We need confidence. It's lacking. Like people can see when you're lacking confidence, like you're not sure what to do. You hesitate a little bit, like the confidence isn't quite there. But what they don't realize and what a lot of coaches actually work against themselves in is the lack of certainty, right? And so like they might give you one thing to do in one play and something completely opposite in the next play, or especially coach to coach. If you work from sixth grade to seventh grade to eighth grade, you'll have three different coaches with three different ideas of what to do. And what happens is you're stuck in a game thinking through like, in this play for this coach, do I do it this way or is it the opposite? And lack of certainty there, like you just freeze up and opportunities pass you by very quickly. And so again, going back to the footwork and the decision making, like we're trying to work on certainty of both of those sides and connect all the skills that fit in between your brain and your feet, like all the physical, mental, and technical basketball skills that really make certainty a part of everything you do. And then confidence comes over time of doing that. And then I think of aggressiveness as like an eventual outcome. If you're confident and you're playing a lot of games, you get a lot of experience being confident, then aggressiveness just kind of happens naturally. You get more aggressive as you play more games and kind of prove to yourself that it's working. All right, the 4 C's process. I really think about this as a model for learning how to learn, which is kind of my overall passion for life. Like what I like to help other people with in the world is help people learn how to learn. And basketball just happens to be my best and favorite platform of how to do that. Like we could probably be in a classroom and I could teach a class and teach you how to learn something else, but basketball is way more fun. So I hope to translate for you and help you translate everything you're learning about yourself and how you learn best when you're on the court with us and going through this course, translate that to all the other areas of life. I was homeschooled my whole life and benefited greatly from learning how to learn and learning how I learn best so that now I can go learn anything I need to on demand when I need and want to. And I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me how to learn or to teach me or to educate me. It's just learning is a part of life that I enjoy and I want to go pursue it when it suits my needs. So the model actually comes from a author named Dan Sullivan. He has a big company actually coaching business owners. That's how I found him originally. So the book that he wrote, I would recommend you read. We'll actually send you an ebook copy of it if you're interested. But it's written for business owners, entrepreneurs, but just has a fantastic model for what a learning process looks like. So he calls it the 4 C's formula and how everybody everywhere grows, or in my translation, learns kind of the same thing. So box number 1 is commitment, which is kind of where you're at right now. You started this course, you signed up for the next 12 weeks, and you're committed to going through doing the work and hoping to come out the other side with some growth and improvement in your basketball realm. And so now that you're committed, courage is what's next. And Dan Sullivan actually does a great job differentiating between, courage and confidence. Courage is when you're doing all the hard work, but you don't see any of the results yet. It's just like, it's hard and it's not that fun and it doesn't feel good yet. And, it kind of sucks for a while. But what happens if you stay encouraged long enough is you come out with a capability. So like think about like practicing shooting. If you change something about your shot, it sucks, right? Your teammates are laughing at you because you're airballing half the time. It doesn't feel good. It takes courage to stay with that. But then you come out of it like, okay, I was a 25% shooter and my shot was terrible and I changed it. It felt ugly. It felt weird. It was out of rhythm. But now I'm a 35% shooter. And, I'm okay with that now. I have the capability, 35%. And then eventually just proving that to yourself over time, confidence again is like the emergent properties. Like, after I've gone through the first three, now I have confidence in my shot. And the important part here in this whole thing is this tiny little arrow, which reminds you that you should pick something else to commit to next so that you can keep growing. Where a lot of players get stuck is shooting, especially what I just described. They get to freshman, sophomore year of high school. They're a pretty good shooter. They're known as the spot up shooter guy on their freshman team, and they decide to stay there for the rest of their playing life. The rest of their basketball career, they're only a shooter. And if somebody closes out too hard, runs them off a 3-point line, they don't know what to do. And the important part of my learning model, what I like to pass on to you from this, is you have to commit to the next thing. Like, I got to get better at driving. I got to get better at my pull up off the dribble jump shots. If I'm going to be a great shooter and confident here, I got to commit to getting better at the next thing and continuing that cycle nonstop, year round, all the rest of your life is what really pays dividends and can make you a fantastic basketball player and a fantastically capable person if you apply this to all different areas of your life. All right, self-esteem versus confidence. Another business guy that I follow named Alex Hormozi, which is just great thinker and he's got some great quotes. But he really has a really strong definition of confidence and similar to my own. I've borrowed some of his terminology because I like how he speaks about it. And he talks about stacking evidence, like creating undeniable proof for yourself. So the difference between self-esteem and confidence in my mind is self-esteem is like affirmations, right? Like people telling you, you telling yourself, you speaking words that tell you that you're doing well, without any real evidence or proof underneath it. So it's like, it mostly feels like you're just lying to yourself. Like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm going to lie myself into believing, something I don't really believe is true because I don't have any proof for it. Versus, our whole approach with the concrete confidence is like stacking up certainty so that 7 layers deep what to do. Like, I know that I know that I know that I know what to do. And now confidence is, natural. Like I said, it's an emergent property that comes out of it. And I'm so certain that it really makes it unreasonable that I would be bad at this, right? And kind of another part of it is I have done the work for so long and so much of the work, like volume over time, that it would be crazy if I wasn't good at basketball anymore, right? Like, I just spent 12 weeks, like we're literally going to be on the court 24 hours over the next 12 weeks together. And like, if you went 24 hours of like deep learning basketball practice and you didn't make any improvement, like that'd be kind of unreasonable, right? And if you take that approach, like measuring your progress over time, eventually you'll hit that threshold where it's like, I kind of need to be good at basketball at this point. Like, it'd be unreasonable for me to be bad at this based on how much volume of work I have put into it. So I have a quote from Alex Hormozi that says, confidence without evidence is delusion. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And I think that's just a fantastic way to state that, like undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Like, having an undeniable stack of proof that says I am a good shooter means you probably did 300 to 500 shots every day in the off season. And, that 10,000 shots over 3 or 4 months, is a stack of undeniable proof that says I'm a shooter, right? When you get to your freshman tryouts or your sophomore JV, whatever level you're trying out for next, and you walk in the gym and you warm up your shot and you go into shooting drills and you never miss, like that is the undeniable proof that you are the shooter now for your program. And we're going to talk about how you can make your practice and your work more efficient so that you're not just doing the grind with really poorly thought out drills and really irrelevant things to think about or not think at all and work on. We're going to point you toward, here's the most game realistic, highest probability thing that you will do in a game every time you play a game, and let's get good at those so that all the time you spend in practice has a direct translation to your game, and every minute you spend practicing is actually building toward that stack of undeniable proof that is really relevant in a game and shows up every time you're on the court. So, summarizing module number 1, concreteness. We want to make sure that we have really specific, detailed, foundational pieces that we're putting together all the time. There is a method to the madness. There is a puzzle piece that fits to the next puzzle piece, and it's solid like concrete, no matter how deep you dive into it. We've thought it through and we've built it up, and we're going to guide you on that path to build your own concrete foundation for whatever height skyscraper you want to reach with basketball. We want to start with certainty first. We're not going to go after aggressiveness or confidence. We're going to go sub-layer deeper and work on certainty of footwork, certainty of decisions, and all the skills in between. The 4 C's, we're going to bring this up once in a while that, hey, you're in the courage stage, right? We're committed to this program. We're committed to getting better as a player. The courage right now is you got to do this against this other player that might be faster than you, might be more skilled than you. Like in our group, we're going to have some matchups that are difficult for you. And it's going to take courage to actually go execute the skill that we're working on and trust that you're going to build a capability over time. And then last again is building undeniable proof. Make it so that it would be crazy if I'm not a good basketball player based on the amount of work and the intentional efficiency of practice that I'm putting underneath my work so that everything I do is contributing toward my success. So that's it for module 1. Hope that was enjoyable for you. I'm pumped, and I look forward to seeing you on the court soon.